Well, at the time of me recording, Gamescom will soon be upon us. Gonna have a whole lot of game announcements and reveals, and of course, we know that there is going to be some major fighting game reveals. Now, I know some people are probably wondering, Chris, there have been several Fatal Fury City of the Wolves reveals. Why haven't you made any videos about these trailers? Me personally, if you haven't listened to the podcast that I did, the very last episode, I think I made it quite clear that I'm actually not a fan of SNK doing this. I get why they did it because, granted, of course, we've seen these characters in-game, but of course, they technically didn't get their own trailers. Again, I get it, but I personally wasn't a fan of that, especially given that with all the characters that we've seen revealed trailers for in the past couple of weeks, there's been footage upon footage upon footage upon footage of these characters in action thanks to influencers and major players. We are quite aware of what these characters can do. With that being said, I need people on this platform to realize, because I've seen it so many times and it keeps flying over people's radar, or flying under the radar rather, more than one thing can be true, okay? I can personally dislike the fact that SNK did this, but also can see the value in why they did it. Because, of course, while we've seen these characters in action and we see what they can do, that is not to say that putting these trailers out was completely useless or didn't tell us anything new, because that is definitely not the case. Whether you watch Rufelmonger, or if you watch Nabil of Neo Geo now, shoutouts to both, or anybody else who might be talking about this, it's just these two are the ones that I have heard talking about this the most. But I've been hearing murmurings about this whole stage theory when it comes to Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. In fact, on the most recent episode of the Chrysalid Chronicles, my podcast, I actually followed along with Rufelmonger's little logic dive concerning this theory. Don't know why I thought about the random Danganronpa minigame. But yeah, just in case you didn't tune into that particular podcast, I did say that it does sound like Rufelmonger's logic is pretty sound on that. And now that I think about it, I think he and Nabil, I think this is like another key point of the theory, they're saying that every single character in this game is getting their own stage. Which, I mean, so far, given what we've seen with these character trailers, it does seem to hold up. However, that got me thinking about a little something. Now, I might be late to the party with this, but I still just wanted to go down this road with you all. But if that is the case, that every character is getting their own stage, to me, that means one particular trailer that we've already seen is kind of interesting. The trailer in question that I'm talking about is the 2023 EVO trailer, or as I've sometimes called it, the soundbite trailer. If we follow the logic of Rufelmonger and Nabil, and I guess anybody else that's been saying this, I feel like this particular trailer might reveal some characters that we didn't think about. And on top of that, it might reassure some things. Like, let's just go ahead and go down the list.
Racing Storm!
So the first location or stage of interest here involves a soundbite from one Rock Howard, and the location in question is Geese Tower. Now, as we have learned, thanks to, of course, them putting out Rock's trailer hilariously late, mind you, we've learned that Rock's actual stage in City of the Wolves is Bar Street Stars, not Geese Tower. So if we are following this stage theory, what exactly is going on here? The interesting thing about it is, we actually have seen Geese Tower. It was in announcement trailer number 2, right there, where we see Terry and Rock in what I imagine is like a cutscene from like the story mode or something. And also, upon me watching this trailer again for research, it's a blink and you'll miss it moment, but even Hotaru is there if you look at like the background in this frame right here, so yeah, I'm guessing this is like a cutscene or something. But with all that being said, if we're following this logic, that does beg the question.
Whose stage is this?
That still makes me laugh. Which is ironic because the thought of whose stage this is doesn't really make me happy, unless of course SNK does the thing. Again, I am tired of talking about Heihachi and M. Bison's recent revivals, but it seems I cannot escape this topic. But if they are going to bring Geese back, again, SNK, Nightmare Goose, right there, do that, okay? Please, just don't pull a Capcom, don't pull the Bandai Namco, Nightmare Goose is right there. I'm pretty sure you all get it by now. It's the perfect way to bring Geese back without any BS, so please SNK. And maybe this is just me, maybe it's copium or whatever, but looking at this particular scene again and looking at the Geese Tower, place does look haunted, which makes sense. I say that to say, even aesthetically it looks like a Nightmare Geese stage, but yeah, if we're going by this stage theory, that has to signal the return of Geese in some form or capacity. And again, the fact that we've actually seen the Geese Tower in gameplay, or at least like a scene here, yeah, because I could see some people maybe saying that perhaps these stages were like red herrings because we haven't seen many of them, which, you know, we'll see as we go along for some of the other entries, but it was referenced in the 2023 trailer, and we actually see it in another trailer, so this one has got to basically be a lock. Now this one's pretty crazy because it's not just one voice but three. I still stand by my prediction that that first voice is Hokutomaru, just a little bit older, and obviously those other voices are Mai and B Jenny. And the location that we're looking at here is the National Park. As of right now, only one of these three characters have been revealed in game, and that is B Jenny, whose stage is not the National Park. It's instead the Southtown Bridge. We haven't seen Hokutomaru or Mai, but I can tell you right now, the National Park isn't really closely associated with either one of them. There is another character that this stage is more closely linked to, and I'm pretty sure most of you already know who I'm talking about, Joe Higashi. Now I've seen little bits of debate about whether or not Joe is going to be a playable character in this game, seeing that his disciple, who has a lot of his moves, is a playable character. But again, going with this particular stage theory, if that is the case, then we're gonna get Joe Higashi if we're gonna see the National Park. And I mean, there are ways to differentiate him from his student. We've seen this done before in fighting games many a time, so I don't know why people are thinking just because Preacha is there, we're not gonna get Joe. I still think that this roster, the starting roster if you will, is going to be a mishmash of the old school and new school Fatal Fury characters. This one is actually kind of funny because while we haven't seen Joe in game yet far as like a trailer or gameplay, we have seen him somewhere else, in that promotional poster with Terry and Andy. So continuing down this logic dive, I did it again. It's all the more safe to say that Joe is definitely a lock for this game. This next location features two characters, both of whom have been officially revealed in-game, Kevin and Billy. And if you've seen both of their trailers, you would realize that neither of these places exactly look like airports. Kevin's stage is the Southtown Zoo, and Billy's stage is the Center Street, which also has been likened to Freeman's old stage from Mark of the Wolves. So with those two out of the way, that begs the question, the Southtown Airport. Which Fatal Fury character is this stage closely associated with? That would be Franco Bash. I'm laughing because if you watch my wishlist video for this game far as character inclusions, Franco Bash was on my list of characters that I hope sat this one out. But at the same time, I don't dislike him to the same degree of characters such as Maxima or Gongil. Like I said, he's just kind of a goof, but at the same time, his fighting style is actually pretty cool. So, like I said, it's whatever. But anyways, as I'm sure most of you know, Franco Bash worked as an airplane mechanic here, thus linking him to the stage. But now that I think about it, I just had a random thought. I have been so stuck on SNK saying that there were going to be characters in this particular game that are going to make us go, oh? Now, granted, like, I told you how I feel about Franco Bash, but he would definitely be an O character. Like any old school character that hasn't gotten any shine in freaking King of Fighters or anything like that, whether it's him, whether it's Sagumi Sendo, whether it's Sokaku, all three of these characters are O characters. So perhaps Franco Bash might be who SNK is hinting at if we are going down this whole stage theory path, whatever. I'm trying not to reference Logic Dive again. But yeah, like the previous couple of entries we went over, there's no mistaking this particular stage if we do indeed see it in City of the Wolves. Moving right along. Yes, two more characters that have been fully revealed for City of the Wolves, and thus we have seen their stages. Of course, Marco's stage is confirmed to be Yuri's fitness club, and Hotaru's stage is clearly based on and inspired by her Marco the Wolf stage. Again, two places that most definitely do not look like abandoned dojos. However, this one has a little bit of a weird twist to it, because the interesting thing about this stage is that it may very well be linked to Marco, because of course we know some dojo buster went and took the sign from the place, and now they had to move to Yuri's fitness club. Still, if every character in this game is getting their own stage, and these stages that we've seen in this trailer are going to be in this game, who does this stage belong to? Because given what we've gone over with Marco, it would have to be some other characters that are central to this particular storyline with the Kyokugen Ryu Dojo. While there are a good chunk of characters that this applies to, two characters in particular jump out at me as being likely for this stage in this game: Mr. Karate 2 or Yamazaki. The former is the only other key character in this storyline that I could see making it into City of the Wolves, given his ties to the Fatal Fury series via the shared universe. I would personally love to see Yuri as well, but I feel like if it came down to it, SNK would probably pick Ryo instead. In terms of Yamazaki, I could see this being his stage given his dojo busting reputation, because as I'm sure you remember, in Marco's Marco the Wolves ending, he sets off to find the perpetrator, and perhaps in City of the Wolves, he'll actually clash with Yamazaki at the abandoned dojo. That's just my theory. So here's another location with two characters, except here only one of them has been confirmed, that being Tizok. And his stage is basically a newer version of his Mark of the Wolf stage, which has been the subject of a lot of discussion because something right in Big Bear in the background. The other character here is Gedo, who we haven't seen yet, who I've seen a lot of people think we're actually going to see at Gamescom. Either him or Mai or somebody else. While Gedo hasn't been revealed for City of the Wolves yet, you can obviously go back to Mark of the Wolves and see that this stage right here is definitely not the Live House Old Line stage. The funny thing about this particular location is that this stage is actually for a character that we just finished discussing, Rock Howard. This was his Mark of the Wolves stage, so I don't know what to make of this exactly. Because unlike all the others, again, he's been revealed already with his own stage, so what's going on here? Like, is it because it's kind of like a nightlife stage or whatever, that perhaps maybe it's Freeman or something? I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this one, so let me know what you think in the comments. Moving right along. And we've arrived at the final location, which has a lot of swerves in it. For starters, like the previous entry, it's two characters, one of whom has been revealed in-game, and that being Terry. The other one is, and I just found out I've been saying it wrong this entire time, Kine. Thanks, Gal Winquote. I used to always call him Kane because taking him and Grant, whose real name is Abel, Kane and Abel, you get it, but even in the game it's pronounced Kine, which is kind of funny because that pronunciation makes me think of the character Kyan from Battle Arena Toshinden. Terry's stage, which we've seen recently, is obviously another rendition of his classic Fatal Fury 2/Special stage, and again, we haven't seen Kine in-game, but of course he is in that promotional poster with Rock and Billy. But of course, you can go back into Mark of the Wolves to look and see that this stage, which is Kine's stage, is definitely not a factory. Something else that definitely isn't a factory is in this scene which zooms in on this particular location to where we see Rock and Terry about to clash. That is not a factory either. We've learned, of course, that this stage is Bar Street Stars, Rock's stage. And thus, we come back to the question that we've been asking for pretty much all of these entries: what Fatal Fury character's stage is this? And the answer is nobody. This is another instance where the shared universe rears its head because the factory is associated with one Mr. Big from AOF. This, to me, is a crazy one, because if the whole logic with these stages follow and like all the other stuff that we went through, tracks and everything, I could kind of see this. Like, if Geese is really gonna come back like in nightmare form or whatever SNK decides to do, of course Mr. Big would probably want to go after him. Of course he would. Not to mention, with Geese out of the way, of course somebody like Mr. Big is going to try to reassert their dominance and such, especially seeing now that Billy's the head. I could see him possibly going at Billy, and going back to like the theory I had about Mr. Karate 2, I could see Mr. Big going back at Rio for beating him in the first KOF tournament. That could happen. But yeah, Mr. Big making a playable return, that would definitely be an oh moment for me. I'm staying stuck on that because I want to know what character it is that's gonna make people say oh in terms of what SNK was telling us. But yeah, that's the long and short of it. Like, I know a lot of this discussion has been centered around the amusement park stage, seeing that it's the one stage that we've seen in game that has yet to be linked to a single character, and seeing with Preacha's recent trailer, which a lot of people were misattributing the amusement park stage to Preacha, and I think I might have even seen it on the wiki at one point. But yeah, like after that trailer, that pretty much got debunked, so whose stage is this? It's still in the air. A lot of people point to Raiden, which, again, if you haven't listened to my podcast talking about this, I just put it like this. I think having Raiden in is good. Yeah, we have one wrestler in the form of T-Zoc, but on one hand, T-Zoc wrestles a different way than Raiden does, number one. Number two, I do like the idea of having a face like T-Zoc going against a heel like Raiden. I like that too. I'd like to see more of professional wrestling style storylines when it comes to their pro wrestling characters, because it's going to be very rare that a pro wrestling type character is going to be the one that's going to save the world or be like the main protagonist. Like, the last time we really had a character like that in a major fighting game was Alex in Street Fighter 3, which you already know what they say about Street Fighter 3. Let's not go down that road. But yeah, that's all I got for this one. Let me know what you think. Did I miss out on something by chance? Do you think this whole Fatal Fury City of the Wolves stage theory actually holds up? Do you think there might be something else at play? Do you think perhaps that even though some of these stages are associated with certain characters, could they possibly be reappropriated and given to another character by chance? I think there's so much to explore here, but until next time, which is going to be in the midst of Gamescom announcements, I will see y'all next time. Take care, be safe out there, be cool to each other, and stay cool by staying hydrated in the heat. And as always, free CVS2.